It all started as a joke, one of those late-night ideas that seem hilarious when you're half asleep and surrounded by empty energy drink cans. My girlfriend, Rachel, had left a pile of her clothes on my bed after staying over, and as I stared at the soft fabrics, an absurd thought crossed my mind. What if I tried them on? I'd never considered cross-dressing before. Sure, I'd worn costumes for Halloween or themed parties, but this was different. This wasn't about pretending to be someone else for laughs. It was about curiosity, about the strange pull I felt toward the delicate lace of Rachel's bra, the way her skirt flowed when she walked. Before I could talk myself out of it, I slipped into her clothes. The first thing I noticed was how different everything felt. The fabric was lighter, smoother against my skin, hugging my body in ways my own clothes never did. I stood in front of the mirror, half expecting to look ridiculous, but instead, I was intrigued. My frame wasn't overly masculine. I was lean, with narrow shoulders, and with Rachel's blouse draped over me. I didn't look wrong, just different. That should have been the end of it. A weird little experiment forgotten by morning. But the next time Rachel stayed over, I found myself stealing glances at her wardrobe, imagining how her dresses would feel. And then, one afternoon when she was at work, I gave in again. This time, I went further, tights, a skirt, even a bit of her makeup. I didn't know what I was doing, but the more I tried, the more natural it started to feel. Then came the day Rachel caught me. I hadn't meant for it to happen. She was supposed to be out all day, but she came back early and there I was, standing in her favorite sundress, my face half done with foundation and lipstick. I froze, my stomach dropping. This was it. She'd think I was some kind of freak, some weirdo, who got off on wearing her clothes. But Rachel just tilted her head, studying me, and then she smiled. "You look cute," she said. That was the moment everything changed. Instead of disgust or anger, Rachel was interested. She sat me down, showed me how to properly apply eyeliner, how to walk in heels without wobbling. It was surreal, like stepping into a parallel universe where this was normal. And the more we did it, the more I realized I liked it. Not just the clothes, but the way they made me feel, softer, lighter, like a version of myself I hadn't known existed. Rachel started calling me Leah on those days, a feminine twist on my name, Leo. At first, it was just a private thing between us, but then she invited me out as her. She let me a wig, helped me with contouring to soften my jawline, and suddenly, I wasn't Leo in a dress. I was Leah, Rachel's friend from out of town. The first time we went out together, my heart wouldn't stop pounding. Every glance from a stranger felt like an accusation, like they knew. But no one did. We got coffee, browsed a boutique, and the cashier even complimented my outfit. It was exhilarating, terrifying, and addictive all at once. Weeks passed, and Leah became more than just a costume. I started buying my own clothes, experimenting with styles Rachel wouldn't wear. I learned how to tuck, how to shape my brows, how to speak with a lighter cadence. And the strangest part? It didn't feel like pretending. It felt like uncovering something that had been there all along. Then came the night Rachel kissed me, not as Leo, but as Leah. It was tender, hesitant, like she was testing a boundary. When she pulled back, her eyes were searching. "Is this okay?" she whispered. I didn't have an answer at first. I'd never been with a woman as a woman. But the more I thought about it, the more right it felt. Now, I'm not just Leo anymore. Some days I'm him, jeans, t-shirts, my old life. But other days I'm Leah, slipping into dresses, laughing with Rachel as we do each other's makeup. I don't know where this road leads, if I'll ever fully become her, or if I'll always exist somewhere in between. But for the first time, I'm not afraid to find out. Because sometimes, the person you're meant to be isn't the one you started as. Sometimes, they're waiting in the mirror, hidden beneath layers you never knew you could peel away. The days blurred together after that kiss, each one folding into the next like layers of chiffon. Soft, delicate, impossible to separate. Rachel and I didn't talk about it at first, as if naming the thing between us would shatter it. But the silence wasn't uncomfortable. It was charged, like the air before a storm, full of something waiting to be unleashed. I started spending more time as Leah. What had begun as an occasional escape became a rhythm, a natural ebb and flow between my two selves. Rachel's closet slowly became ours, her clothes mingling with the ones I'd bought for myself. Flowing skirts, snug sweaters, bras that fit my body now, not just hers. She taught me how to walk in heels without looking like a newborn deer, how to layer my makeup so it looked effortless instead of painted on. And with every lesson, I felt less like an imposter and more like myself. But the outside world wasn't as forgiving as Rachel's bedroom. The first time I went out alone as Leah, my hands wouldn't stop shaking. I kept my head down, convinced everyone could see the truth beneath the foundation and the wig. But then a woman in a cafe smiled at me and said, "I love your dress," and something inside me cracked open. Maybe I could exist like this. Maybe the world wouldn't end if I did. Then came the hard part, telling someone else. It was Rachel's idea. "You should talk to Jess," she said one night, tracing idle circles on my bare shoulder. Jess was my oldest friend, the one who'd known me since high school, back when I was all awkward limbs and bad haircuts. If anyone would understand, or worse, reject me, it would be her. I showed up at Jess's apartment as Leo, my usual jeans and hoodie feeling like a costume for the first time. My throat was dry as I sat on her couch, staring at the half-empty mug of tea she'd made me. So, I started, then stopped. "How do you say this? Hey, remember me? Sometimes I'm a woman now." But Jess had always been sharp. She took one look at my face and said, "You're freaking out. What's wrong?" So I told her. Not gracefully, not smoothly, just a messy, stumbling confession about Rachel, about the clothes, about the way it felt to look in the mirror and see her instead of him. Jess listened without interrupting, her expression unreadable. When I finally ran out of words, she set down her mug and leaned forward. "Okay," she said. "So, when do I get to meet her?" That was it. No disgust, no awkward questions, just acceptance, simple and steady. I could have cried. Instead, I pulled out my phone and showed her the pictures Rachel had taken of me as Leah. Jess grinned. "Damn, you're prettier than me. That's annoying." After that, things moved faster. Jess helped me pick out more clothes, even took me to her hairstylist to get a proper feminine cut instead of relying on wigs. Rachel and I went on double dates with Jess and her boyfriend, with me as Leah, laughing over wine like this was normal. And maybe it was. Maybe normal was just what you made it. But the biggest step came months later, when Rachel sat me down, her face serious. "I think you should see a therapist," she said. Not because anything was wrong, but because she wanted me to have space to figure out what this all meant. Was Leah just a part of me? Or was she me? The therapist's office was quiet, sterile in a way that made my skin itch. But Dr. Alvarez was kind, her questions gentle but probing. "When you picture your future," she asked one session, "who do you see?" The answer came, without hesitation, Leah. That realization was like a door swinging open inside me. It wasn't just about the clothes or the makeup anymore. It was about the way my body didn't feel like mine unless I smoothed away the stubble, unless I wrapped myself in silk instead of cotton. It was about the quiet joy of being called ma'am by a stranger, the way Rachel's fingers laced with mine when we walked down the street together. So I started hormones. The first injection was terrifying, my hands trembling as I pressed the needle into my thigh. But the fear was eclipsed by something else. Hope. Change came slowly, then all at once. My skin softened, my hips rounded slightly, my reflection shifting day by day until Leah wasn't a persona anymore. She was just me. Rachel stayed by my side through all of it. There were hard moments, of course, family to tell, awkward conversations with coworkers, days when dysphoria wrapped around me like a suffocating blanket. But there was also joy. So much joy. Now, when I look in the mirror, I don't see a man playing dress-up. I see a woman. Not perfect, not flawless, but real. And when Rachel kisses me, it doesn't matter whose lips are whose body is pressed against whose. All that matters is that we're here, together, in a world that finally feels like it fits. Because sometimes, becoming yourself isn't about finding something new. It's about peeling back the layers you were told to wear and discovering who is underneath all along. and her name is Leah. The first time I saw my mother after starting hormones, her breath caught when she opened the door. I hadn't told her, couldn't find the words after a lifetime of her calling me her handsome boy. For a terrible moment, we just stared at each other in the dim porch light, the June cicadas screaming in the trees. Then her hands flew to her mouth and she whispered, "Oh, baby," and pulled me into a hug so tight I could feel her heart pounding through her cotton dress. She made tea the way she always had, with too much honey, her hands shaking slightly as she stirred. "I always knew," she said abruptly, staring into her cup. "When you were 6, you begged me for a princess costume for Halloween. Not to be funny, not as a joke. You just wanted it." I had forgotten that. The memory rushed back, the way the cheap satin had felt against my skin, how I'd twirled until I got dizzy. Dad took longer. There were silences that stretched like deserts over Sunday dinners, his eyes skipping over my growing chest, my rounded cheeks. But then one afternoon he showed up at my apartment with a toolbox and said, "Let's fix that leaky sink," like nothing had changed. And when I passed him a wrench, he muttered, "You look happy, Leah," without looking up. That was enough. Work was its own battlefield. I came out to HR first, my nails digging into my palms as I explained that the name on my emails would be changing. But my coworkers surprised me. Jen from accounting started a lunchtime makeup tutorial for anyone who wants to learn, and gruff old Mr. Callahan began ending every conversation with "ma'am," like he was making up for lost time. The day I used the women's restroom for the first time without panic clawing at my throat, I sat in the stall and cried silent, grateful tears. Rachel and I moved in together last spring. Our apartment is cluttered with shared clothes, makeup brushes jammed into coffee mugs, 2 different shampoos in the shower. Sometimes we stand in front of the mirror together, brushing our teeth in synchronized motions, and the ordinary miracle of it steals my breath. How natural this feels, how right. There are still hard days. The stares in grocery stores, the occasional muttered slur from passing cars, the family members who quietly disappeared from my life. But there are also Rachel's arms around me when I wake from nightmares, the way she kisses my forehead and says, "I've got you, Leah." There's just showing up with ice cream and bad movies after my first breakup with a guy who couldn't handle dating a trans woman. There's my mother mailing me childhood photos with my daughter scribbled over the old captions in shaky handwriting. Yesterday, I finally looked at my reflection and didn't see any ghosts. Just me, Leah, with her messy bun and smudged eyeliner, her laugh lines and stretch marks, her strong hands and soft hips. Not perfect, not a fantasy, just real. Rachel found me staring and wrapped her arms around my waist, resting her chin on my shoulder. "What?" she murmured. I turned in her arms and kissed her, slow and sweet, feeling the truth of it in my bones. "Nothing," I said against her lips. "Just happy." And I was. Because this isn't a story about becoming someone else. It's the story of finally, after all these years, coming home to myself. The summer heat clung to the city like a second skin as I stood in front of the boutique dressing room mirror, smoothing my hands over the ivory wedding dress. The fabric whispered against my skin, delicate as a breath, and for a moment, I couldn't recognize the woman staring back at me. Not because she was unfamiliar, but because she was me, fully, unapologetically me. Rachel's voice floated through the curtain. "Leah, are you decent?" I laughed, my fingers trembling as they traced the lace bodice. "Define decent." She slipped inside, her sundress fluttering around her knees, and then she froze. Her lips parted, her eyes glistening in the soft lighting. "Oh," was all she managed, one hand rising to cover her mouth. I turned back to the mirror, watching our reflection. Rachel in her sunflower yellow dress, me in white silk, the two of us suspended in this quiet, perfect moment. "Is it too much?" I asked, suddenly self-conscious. Rachel stepped forward, her arms circling my waist from behind, her chin resting on my bare shoulder. "It's you," she said simply. 3 years ago, I had been a man trying on his girlfriend's clothes in secret. 2 years ago, I had taken my first trembling steps outside as Leah. 1 year ago, I had started hormones, my body slowly aligning with the woman I'd always been inside. And now, here I stood, in a wedding dress, with the love of my life holding me like I was something precious. The wedding planner cleared her throat outside the curtain. 5 more minutes, then we need the room for the next appointment. Rachel squeezed me gently before letting go. We should get a picture. She fumbled for her phone, her fingers uncharacteristically clumsy. I struck a pose, one hand on my hip, the other holding up an imaginary veil, and we both burst into laughter as she snapped the photo. Later, as I changed back into my sundress bought for myself, not borrowed, I thought about how far we'd come. The nights Rachel had held me through hormone-induced mood swings, the mornings I'd panicked over whether I'd ever really pass, the countless tiny victories that had led me here. The boutique's air conditioning kissed my skin as we stepped outside, the city buzzing around us. Rachel threaded her fingers through mine, swinging our hands between us like we were teenagers. "So," she said, grinning, "are we going with that one?" I bit my lip, glancing down at the photo on her phone. The woman in the ivory dress looked radiant, confident, happy. "Yeah," I said. "I think we are." Our wedding was small, just family, close friends, and a handful of coworkers who had become like family. Jess was my maid of honor, her toast bringing both laughter and tears as she recounted our childhood antics and the night I'd drunkenly confessed my crush on Rachel in college. My father walked me down the aisle, his grip firm but gentle. He hadn't said much when I'd come out to him, but today, his eyes were bright with unshed tears as he kissed my cheek and placed my hand in Rachel's. And then we were saying our vows under a canopy of twinkling lights, Rachel's hands warm in mine. "I fell in love with you twice," she whispered, just for me to hear. "First as Leo, then as Leah. And I'd do it 1,000 times over." I didn't trust my voice not to break, so I kissed her instead, pouring every ounce of love and gratitude into it. The guests cheered, but all I could hear was the steady rhythm of Rachel's heartbeat beneath my palm. Now, when I wake up, Rachel is curled against me, her hair tickling my chin. Sunlight spills through the curtains, painting gold across our tangled limbs. Some mornings, I still reach for her out of habit, half expecting to feel the rough stubble of my old self, the broad shoulders I used to resent. But my body is soft now, curved in ways that feel like home. I slip out of bed, padding barefoot to the nursery we painted last month, a pale yellow, neutral until we know whether the baby will call me Mom or Mama. The adoption paperwork sits on the dresser, nearly finalized. Rachel appears in the doorway, sleep-rumpled and beautiful. "Thinking again?" she murmurs, wrapping her arms around me from behind. I lean into her, resting my hands over hers. "Just wondering if we're ready." She laughs, warm and familiar, and presses a kiss to the nape of my neck. "We've survived everything else. I think we can handle a baby." And she's right. We can. Because this isn't just a story about becoming a woman, or falling in love, or building a family. It's a story about second chances, about looking in the mirror one day and realizing you finally recognize the person staring back. And she's beautiful. Thank you so much for watching till now. It means the world to have you here. This community is all about empowering each other and celebrating the incredible journeys of everyone on their path to living authentically. If you're ever feeling lost or alone, remember you have a whole family here for you. Hit that subscribe button, smash that like button, and let's keep inspiring each other, sending you all the love and strength in the world. Until next time, live your life by your rules.